Hello and welcome to Hanratty on Karate. Following along with a series on the 20 precepts of Funakoshi Gishin, we'll get to, I think we're up to number 5, which is mental technique is more important than physical technique. And this has been said a number of ways, and if we go to the Japanese translation, it's Hitotsu, Gijutsu, yori, shinjutsu. Okay, so shinjutsu, of course, is martial arts. And what it means is, basically, you can have the strongest technique in the world, but if you have a weak spirit to carry it, it's not going to work. It's just like I say in my handbook, and I say to my students all the time, a strong spirit will always carry a weak technique. But you can have the best technique in the world, and if you don't have some kind of fighting spirit, then you're not going to employ that technique or prosecute it to the full extent of your power. So, as I said before, Funakoshi didn't explain in detail the meaning of any of these, but Nakasone Ganwa, he did, and he wrote commentaries on these, and so did other people commented on it as well. So there's a few stories around that give examples of mind over matter, if you like, or mind over technique. One of the ones that Nakasone quotes is by a swordsman, a very famous and deadly swordsman of his day, Sukahara Bokudan, who was testing the ability of his children as he was getting older, and he wanted someone to take over his school, okay? So he decided to test his 3 sons. So Bokudan balanced a heavy headrest, the wooden pillows that the Japanese use when they sleep on the tatamis. He balanced it on the top of the door, into the shoji, right? And his eldest son, he called his eldest son, Hikoshiro, into the room. So when Hikoshiro gently pushed the door open, he noticed that it was heavier than usual. So he reached up, felt along the upper edge of the door and found the headrest. So he took it down, entered the room, and put the headrest back on the door. So then Bokudan called his second son, Hikogoro, who simply pushed the door open, making the headrest fall. However, he was really quick and managed to catch it and then put it back in its original place. Then he called his youngest son, Hikokoruku, who pushed the door open, made the headrest fall down, and hit him on the head. But he had really good reactions and good technical abilities. Drew his sword at once, slashed and cut the headrest in 2 before it hit the ground. And then he kind of laughed and was rather proud of himself at that. So Bokudan then said, Hikoshiro, you're the one who passed this test, and our school of swordsmanship belongs to you. And the second son, he said, if you exert yourself and don't give up, you may someday reach the level of your brother, okay? And the younger son, the one that hit him on the head and then he slashed it and cut it in 2 before it hit the ground, said, you'll cause the ruin of this house and bring shame on it, so you're not going to have anything to do with this school. And then he disowned him. Now, that might be a little harsh by today's standard, but that's the story. So basically, if you look at this, what he's talking about is Zanshin, okay? Now, a lot of people don't practice Zanshin. We see this a lot in competitions, particularly the sport competition, karate competitions, where somebody will punch somebody or sweep somebody, then go running around the ring, waving their hands in the air. That, to me, is the third son who failed the test. Zanshin, to me, means always being aware of your opponent's ability to hurt you. And if you keep this in mind, that you can be hurt, then this will improve your technique, it'll improve your mindset. And definitely you should be practicing awareness. And I think awareness, it doesn't just relate to the techniques that you're doing and how you're doing them, but it's how you think and are you aware of what's going on around you. And this comes into quite a few states of mind that we'd like to achieve in karate, okay? So if you're looking for it, you want to be looking for the mindfulness. That means focusing on the here and now. It's consistent with the concept of mushin no shin, which is a state of mind without mind. So you're free of ambition, anger, hate, fear, and you're open to everything else. and being able to deal with a situation more or less intuitively or automatically, okay? So you want to believe in your own ability and you feel confident for it. This is a state of mind. The other state of mind that you're looking for is a fudoshin. So this is like having an immovable mind or being unshaken in the face of victory or defeat or any other external factors. So you can focus on the goal and you're going to keep going at it with that goal in mind. This is what you want to be looking for. When you're looking at the mentality, and it's more than just senshin, of course, but you want to develop humility. Now, we develop humility in the dojo through the little acts of self-discipline that we learn from the very first day. Bowing when you come into the dojo, lining up according to rank, no matter who you think you are, you're going to be at this end of the dojo or that end of the dojo. And you're always going to be behind the instructor, the sensei, right? Everybody has their place. So just to give you a sense of humility, the classes are hard, and so you're looking for build resilience so that you're going to keep coming and keep working and keep pushing. Even though you may have setbacks, you want your mind and your body to be resilient enough to keep pushing ahead with your training and going on. That, to me, is mentality over technique. So this was Funakoshi's idea, was that the mind is more important than the body. How you approach it is more important than how you do it. Being honest with you, I think that is true, because everybody has their own style of karate. I don't care who you are. I mean, if somebody says to me, what do you practice? I say, Shotokan karate, traditional Shotokan karate. But it's my Shotokan karate, right? I've had some amazing instructors, but they've all looked different. They've all applied the techniques different. They've all developed their techniques different because we're all individual people and we all have our own minds. And I honestly think this is what Funakoshi was getting at, is your own mind determines how you approach your life, how you approach your karate, how you approach developing your skills, and how you project those skills if you ever have to. So this was the fifth, and it moves on to the next pretext, which is number 6, which would be the mind needs to be free, okay? What do we mean by that? Oh, if we look at the Japanese, the thing is that these precepts were written in Japanese, and the translations are never going to be exactly what was written, all right? For a start, they were written in kanji, which doesn't translate directly every time. But if we look at Hitotsu, kokoro, hanatan, koto, yōsu, it's the 6th, all right? And it would be, the mind must be set free, which, you know, it's kind of esoterical if you ask me. But this is also a quote by a Chinese Confucian philosopher, Mengxi, from about, 200-300 BC. He concluded that in the initial stages of study, one should rein in the mind, but later on, you should set the mind free. So it's kind of like the concept of shuhari. You do exactly what your instructor tells you, shu, and this will build up your character, build up the physical side. When I'm teaching, I always tell my beginners, it's going to be very hard. Imagine a bell curve. That's like your training is on a bell curve. It's extremely steep at the start, and then it's going to tail off. Now, occasionally it might hit a plateau where you're going to need resilience and strength through adversity to push past those plateaus that you're going to reach, where something's going to be hard and you think you're never going to make any progress. But believe it or not, your instructor is the one that's going to see the progress, not you. You may feel that you're not making progress, but believe me, you are. Even just doing the same thing every day, you're getting more familiar with it. So the first part of it is just follow your instructor's guidance. Think about your strengths and weaknesses. Try out the techniques, try out sparring strategies that suit your physique, forging ahead, and hopefully your instructor will be knowledgeable enough to give you katas that suit your physique. It's no good giving a 300-pound guy unsu to do because of the jumps in it. look at it, do what there's... I mean, you might like it. You might like Unsu. A 300-pound guy can do Unsu, believe me. But what you're looking for is bringing out the best martial artist within yourself, all right? So as you go on, you're going to free your mind up a little bit more. You're going to get more in-depth on the philosophy of it. And think about when you have to face an opponent, your mind should be in the here and now, observing, taking everything in, but retaining nothing. So it's like you've got a situation, you've got to try and keep calm, watch out for the adrenaline dump, and you try to keep it so that you can control the situation. Now, you can control the situation with your mind. Now, when I'm teaching sparring, I teach two things, right? Either your body's moving fast, and you've got these people who dance around very fast, you've got very fast footwork, making lots of feints, but your mind is actually very calm, okay? Now, if your mind is going fast and you're looking for openings, then your body needs to be a little bit more calm and a little bit more still, but in a very, very strong state of readiness. So this is the two kinds of movement that I teach in karate, but it's the mind that's doing all the work, if you like, telling you what you should do. Control your emotions, okay? But you need to let your mind free whenever you're ready to go. By free, I mean use your knowledge, use what knowledge you have. Don't just flail haphazardly with a technique. Keep it strong, keep it to the point and to the full power that you have. Don't try and hold it back, otherwise you're going to lose, okay? But you just have to follow along. And when you first start off, you probably don't know anything about karate. You don't know about self-defense. Maybe you don't know anything about fighting. So you need the self-discipline to put yourself a conscious effort in there to building up a good foundation. Now, some people will just start teaching fighting straight away. And I know some of these sports groups, they want to win a kata, so all they do is teach one or two katas that you're going to be good at. And they disregard the whole foundation of what kata's teaching you. The same thing with sparring. But what you need to do is go through the 3 stages shihari. So first stage, it all comes in from your instructor. The second stage, you start to think a little bit more for yourself. Maybe, adapt the techniques to how you want them to work. Get to know your own body. And this goes back to the previous precept where you have to know your own mind. And then the final stage is where you developed so that you practically got unconscious competence, if you like. Everything becomes automatic. You don't even see an opening. It's maybe something is perceived and acted upon almost exactly the same time. You just unconsciously do it, okay? This is where you want to be with your mind. So you got to be prepared to get that far. Only when your body is capable of doing it will your mind be ready for it. But you start developing spirit and intent. Developing spirit can be a long, tedious process. I know I get frustrated with students when they don't show the proper spirit in the techniques, when you got a weak mind. If I'm grading people, I very often put down lack of spirit or weak mind. It's not that the technique is weak. It's just that the intent behind it is not there. And this is quite obvious to any experienced instructor. If the intent isn't there, if the spirit is weak, then the technique means nothing, all right? It's just waving your arms around, and it's not going to work at all. So mental technique is more important than physical. A strong spirit will always carry a weak technique. That, to me, is one of the golden precepts of karate. So that's number 6 on Funakoshi's, okay? Number 7 is pretty obvious. It's trouble is born of negligence. And if you don't pay attention to your training, you're going to find this out straight away. Now, all of these precepts that are written in kanji, I'm not great at reading Japanese or even pronouncing Japanese, but carelessness in the dojo is a crime for you and your partner if you're using partner training. But you can also injure yourself just training on your own. This is like a previous podcast when I focused on accidents and injuries. They're likely to happen at some stage, but I've got to mention now, karate is extremely safe activity, okay? You see more injuries and more accidents in ice hockey, rugby, skiing, snowboarding, whatever you want, okay? But karate is not on any of the list of the most dangerous sports. I've done lots of stuff in my life, skydiving, scuba diving. Injuries are unavoidable, but you can reduce them, okay? Exercise caution, take care of your body, and always have respect for your training partner. Listen to your instructor. Follow the instructions and be totally focused. And this is where the mental side of it comes in again. You got to be focused on what you're doing. Now, I used to love karate because when I was training full-time, and I was training twice a day, every day, full-time for quite a few years early on. What I liked about karate is nothing else in life bothered me when I was training. There was nothing that crept into my mind. Some people can do it with meditation. They can sit in front of a wall and empty their mind. I can't. I've tried it lots of times, and I know you're supposed to focus on your breathing and all that. But whenever I wanted to empty my mind, karate is what does it for me, because I'm focused totally on trying to get the physical part right and trying to put the mental commitment behind the physical part. Okay, so nothing else gets in. We have to focus intently on what we're doing all the way through it. Now, one of the things that I have a lot of trouble with in students, and I've mentioned this previously, is a passive aggressor. What do I mean by a passive aggressor? Somebody who's supposed to be attacking, say, who's tori. So if we go to Japanese, it's tori and uke. Okay, uke is the defender and tori is the attacker. So if we look at the attacker and you always pull your punches short or you push them off target, the same with your kicks. Maybe you don't want to injure the other people. You got an overinflated view of your own capabilities because most of the time you couldn't punch your way out of a paper bag. But if you firm and strong and push your attacks, then uke has to respond in a similar manner or better, right? So you're both going to make a lot more progress with that mindset than you are if you think, oh, I don't want to hurt my opponent. You're not going to make any progress at all. So trying to think of precept number 7, misfortune arises from negligence. So it's not just, negligence in, oh, I missed my timing and I smashed my opponent in the teeth. How about it's his fault because he knows exactly what's coming and he didn't block? Try to think of it that way. Force your opponent to get better. Okay? Force your sparring partner to get better. And the only way you can do that is if you better your technique. Okay? So there we go. Just my views again on precept. I think we're up to number 7. So we'll go through the rest of them. I'll try not to make them all as long, but just my views on this philosophy behind the 20 precepts of Funakoshi. Love to hear yours. Whenever you're ready, let me know. Thank you.